He's ready. Okay, he's good now.
All right. Give us an update, if you can, about the situation that's going on with you in the city of Pelhatchie.
Well, as everyone knows, we were under investigation, and the audit report, I think, dropped about a week ago, maybe, and with the findings of the auditor. So now we're here.
And how did that come about? Did you make the phone call?
It was it actually was a question of concern initially, to make sure that we were doing things accordingly and by the statute. And once I received the response from the technical assistance department, they kind of said, well, Mayor, you need to contact investigations.
And it's generally, typical when somebody comes into an office and they take over an audit. Is something that's done. So it's not out of the ordinary that this happens. Were you surprised at the findings?
Yes, I was. After taking office as a new mayor, within 2 months of being there and realizing there are some discrepancies and some things are not being done the right way, the best thing, or the thing that anybody you would think would do, would try to correct the problem and make sure that we're following the law, because that's what the laws are in place for.
And let's take it back a little bit. You haven't been in office a year yet. It has not been 12
quite.
months. It has not been 12 months. And these 10 months or so have been very interesting.
Yes, they have.
When did you first encounter a problem?
Well, I took office July the 1st, and of course the holidays approached, so we were back in July the 6th, and that was the day I signed checks that day. And the next month was the time I signed the second set of checks, and then I realized at that point something may be wrong.
I'm letting you go first.
Oh, that's fine.
I know you got your own storyline and stuff.
Oh,
so.
that's fine. That's fine. That's fine. I know there's certain things you can and cannot say about all of this. But at this point, where we are today, May 30th, where does the investigation stand?
Well, so I think as far as the state auditor goes, their investigation is complete. I don't think that there's any more investigation. They essentially issue a demand. We spoke with them last week and essentially are directed to the Attorney General's office, who kind of handles the collections aspect of it at this point and answers any questions that we may have. And so we're exploring the options as far as what to do next and how to best both recover the money for the city of Pelhatchie, and then how to best clear the mayor's name in this, because there's been a lot of mistruths that have been spread about her. And so part of this process and being transparent with the media and with anyone who has any questions about it is to relay some of the openness and bring some of that back that seems like it's been lost in just some of the battles that have gone on between the mayor and the board, especially recently relative to access to information and just the transparency that's supposed to be inherent in city government. And so that's why we're here.
When you say clear the mayor's name, what do you mean?
Well, there's a lot of people who see, okay,
Now, are we talking about just
named,
the auditor's investigation or other stuff?
correct, the auditor's investigation, because she was named in the most recent. There's essentially two demands that were sent, one of which dealing with a time frame before the mayor took office, and then the most recent part. So people see that and they read into it and think what they will of it. And so part of this is the mayor putting herself on the line by even calling and saying, look, this has been going on, and there was always a possibility that she would be kind of brought into this because of having executed some checks at the direction of the board and the city clerks. And so some of it is just being transparent about what took place and not trying to hide, not trying to run behind closed doors and try to explain something away. Just trying to be transparent about it.
Now, the expenditures that were in question, were those approved by the board or not?
I would have to let the board respond on that. I
When
believe
checks were signed, were those been approved by the board, or On their own, it's just
Any-
part of the overall claims docket.
In any event, before signing checks, the board has to approve all of the expenditures.
Mhm.
And all of the expenditures are on the claims docket.
Okay, so these weren't separate expenditures, these were part of the overall claims docket, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
And then also part of you mentioning clearing your name, you know, we get the emails from different people, claiming to be connected to the town. And, they make, lots of allegations and they say several things. How does that make you feel? Because you went into, your win was historic. So, and you went into this obviously wanting to leave this town, but to know that this is going on, how do you deal with that?
Well, of course, it's very disappointing coming from my home. However, I have a job to do, and I plan on doing my job, and I'm gonna do it to the best of my ability. As a new mayor, you're still learning, and I am, and I'm still reading and still researching. I always, and I even talk with my attorney, and he'll tell me something, but he knows I'm gonna research it and read it again, and we'll probably send him an email like, what does this mean? You know, so. Definitely, I'm still enjoying it as the mayor. I enjoy it. I hate some of the challenges I've had to face, but I think it'll be good in the long run.
And talking about those challenges, there was something about pay. They cut pay a few months ago as well. Is that correct?
They did.
How did that come about?
Well, it was in a board meeting. Definitely didn't know anything about it until it was presented. It was presented at the end, and it wasn't on the agenda. And the board decided that they wanted to cut their pay as well as the mayor's pay, and they were cutting the pay to $250 across the board. So everybody would receive $250. And as far as my pay as a mayor, the initial part-time pay was $1,000 a month, and the board was $500. And so, with that being said, it was a 75% cut for me and a 50% cut for them.
Do you think it was done maliciously?
I would like to not think that. Their reasoning was for budget, but as the executive administrator of the town, when I was looking at the finances, we were okay.
Also, too, in the past 10 months or so, in dealing with all of this, how has the stress and strain been just on you personally, family-wise? I mean, having to be under this kind of spotlight.
Well, I'm glad that we have a strong family. I was raised by strong people, and we're able to handle situations even at the worst of times. And we're always praying all the time and asking God for strength to get through some things. And I think a lot of that has helped me and my support system. I have a strong support system, and they encourage me every day.
What is your relationship like with the board right now?
It's the same as it was when I started office. I was hoping that we could get on one accord. I've been saying that since day one, thinking that we would be on one accord the first day, and it hasn't been easy, and we're still working it out.
When you were signing these checks, had you ever, when you were asking, okay, what's this for? You asked the city clerk, Ms. Massey. Did you ever also ask, who was the city attorney at the time?
The city attorney at that time was Brad Mills.
And had you ever asked him about signing these?
I did. The second month after realizing it was an issue, I contacted him, and I contacted the board members, and I also contacted the city clerk. And
Called him or emailed him?
I called and emailed both.
And the attorney prepared a memorandum in response to her requests. Essentially, and that was part of our press release, essentially, said that there was no improper expenditures.
Now, what is the process from here on? I mean, the auditor made his demand. Now, is everyone responsible for this, or is the bonding company, then they recover again? What's the process here?
So, basically, the demand is put onto the board members, the acting board members.
And how much is against the current board?
So it's a little more than $80,000. Is the current board, the mayor, and the city clerk that was active at the time when the
That'd be Burns and Massey, correct?
I
Or
believe
Massey?
so. I think
just Massey.
I had to look back at the demand itself. And so we wanted to try to get some clarification first. We wanted to see, because again, you know, the mayor bringing this to the auditor's attention is essentially what stopped it. So we wanted to get some clarification on that. Like I said, we were redirected to the Attorney General's office. And so our next step is to speak with her bonding company and just kind of discuss the process there, because again, there's penalties that are assessed the longer that the demand sits.
Right.
And so we want to be proactive rather than reactive. But then in the event that there's further action thereafter, i.e. the bonding company coming after those responsible, there may be some litigation
But
down the road.
if the bonding company pays, that has not been resolved yet?
Not yet.
Okay.
No. We're working on. That's what we're working on this week, is sorting out how the bond plays, trying to get some more answers. Which even the Attorney General, I spoke with one of the attorneys there at the Attorney General's office yesterday, and it was kind of a wait and see from their perspective type of thing. They've essentially done their part and issued the demand, and now it's on the mayor and the board and the city clerks to respond. And so that's what we're in the process of doing now.
I'm going to switch subjects a little bit. There was an interesting little letter in the Rankin County News recently. I'm sure y'all at least heard about it. It was written by an alderman's daughter. What's your response to that?
Well, so there appears to be some litigation pending out of that particular letter. There were some pretty defamatory statements that were made, blatantly false. Now, there's a separate attorney that's handling some other litigation arising out of that letter from some other individuals who were named. It just appears to be a lot of falsehoods. I think, again, as a media outlet, Rankin County News, like anyone else, they're giving voice to someone who may have an opinion, and at least that was how that particular article was couched, as an opinion letter to the editor.
Some of those statements weren't opinions; they were flat out allegations or statements.
And so I think there's going to be, and probably will be, some more legal action down the road.
Will there be any against the newspaper?
Well, again, they couched it as they couched it as a letter to the editor or as an opinion piece by someone who's not associated with them, and so we're exploring that. The Rankin County News has been. I'm not even commenting on. I mean, it seems as though, and you mentioned it yourself, that there's a storyline to be followed, and there seems to be a lot of that in a lot of media, and it's 2018. I mean, it's the way it goes. But as far as they go, I don't want to speak too soon on whether or not there'll be some action. We don't have anything pending yet against them, or even against this individual who wrote this letter to the editor. We're exploring the options because, again, your reputation is all you have, and so when someone just spreads wild falsehoods and just completely baseless allegations that even if they were true, you wouldn't have any access to the information to back that up, and so it's just I think it was irresponsible for the newspaper to print that. Whether it was actionable is a totally different question. I certainly think it was not the right thing to do to give voice or to give a platform to something like that. But again, freedom of speech goes a long way, and I think
Has her father discussed it with either one of you, or has it come up, or?
Not at all. I
Haven't
haven't
spoken.
heard from any of the board members or anybody or the city attorney.
What happens, I know you mentioned what happens next with the auditor's office and going through bonding and trying to get that situation. I get situated. What happens next, just continuing on? I'm sorry.
Well, again, as the mayor of the town, I have obligations to the town, and I'm gonna continue to serve the town to the best of my ability, and continue to work on Milltown Park so we can get the park up for our kids in the community, and work on our safe room. It's almost complete. So those things are still daily that we're constantly working on, and I hope to have it done maybe closer to the fall season. So we're gonna press forward.
Has any of this slowed you down at all?
Not a bit. Still sleeping well. Not a bit.
Anything else y'all would like to add that we left out? We touched on a lot, but.
I think I'm good.
I'm good.
Okay.
Thank you guys so much.